Welcome back, everybody, to Pod of Thrones. I'm Jeff.
I'm Jennifer.
Babe, I feel like I should be talking fast already, but I'm going to try to keep myself calm.
Okay, here we go.
Today, we are going to do our Season 1 recap in 30 minutes or less, or... I thought you'd fill in the joke there.
I don't know what... Is there a joke?
The podcast is free.
Well, I'm sorry. You want to do that again?
No, it's okay.
All right.
Would you rather do it again? People got to understand that humor is hard work.
Well, yeah, of course. I'm further away from you right now, so I'm used to being much closer, and I can read your mind.
Oh.
When we're closer.
But you are recording from the comfort of your bed, so it's pretty exciting for you.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I wish I had some snacks.
Snacks? No, don't eat on microphone.
I just wish I had some snacks. It would be kind of fun. We can make it like a whole thing. It'll be snacking time.
Didn't we say we would do that on the Kid Free Weekend? We would try a podcast called like Movie and a Dinner, where we would go see a movie and then talk about it while eating a meal. We never did. We never did try that. I think it would be fun, but maybe also disgusting.
Okay, but today we're talking about
season one of Game of Thrones.
Pod of Thrones.
So
Game of Thrones.
I hope you haven't started your timers yet. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go episode by episode. Now, if you want the big recap of Pod of Thrones, I'm going to post in the show notes links to what we did last year around this time when we first launched the podcast. We did a full series recap, seasons 1 through 5, but we did it sort of long form.
We almost killed ourselves. We were like maybe longer than the actual show.
No, that's not true.
Lots of good stuff there, though.
I think the worst was like maybe in season 5, we condensed 10 hours of TV down to like 5.5 hours of podcasting. Mm-hmm. But we did it
our way.
Character by character or location by location. Yes, our way. We recapped it in a manner where if you just wanted to know what Daenerys was up to, you could listen to 5 episodes about Daenerys instead of all of the show. But this time around, we're going to do a whole season in 30 minutes, which doesn't give us a whole lot of time per episode. We're going to talk fast. We're going to try to hit the key points to remind everybody what the hell is going on. But if you want the long form, I will give you the links.
Yes, and it's great stuff.
We
really delved in.
Yes, we really did. And at that point, we had just been getting to know Lore Master Kevin. He joined us for a few of those and helped us clue into some of the shit that we didn't really understand from him being our lore master and all.
And you know what? This is the third time around for us. I gotta say, I'm everything now. I'm re-questioning everything that we ever thought, or now that we know everything that we know.
Yep.
Going back to watch it again, you're like, that motherfucker. You know what he's going to do in like 10 episodes?
Or 50.
Right, or 50.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we won't have time to talk about new theories here, but we can always mention something and then set it aside for some other time.
Okay.
If you want to.
Alrighty.
Okay. All right. Whew, I'm nervous.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right.
Start the timers.
Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen.
And season 1, I think the key thing to know about season 1, dear, was that we saw very early on to the stuff with the White Walkers and the zombies and the Night Watch guys, we saw a pattern, like a swirly pattern full of bodies. Mm-hmm. They just love making art with corpses. So these Night Watch guys, they got scared. They met a White Walker. White Walker kicked their fucking asses, but one guy got away. And we saw some zombies. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he runs away from the wall. We didn't even know what that was at that time. But then we meet Ned Stark. And what does he have to do?
He has to chop off the guy's head.
He sure as hell does, and Bran has to watch. All the boys are there. We meet Jon and Robb and Theon, of course, who's not a Stark, but he's their ward. And then after the beheading, what do they find?
Wolves,
direwolf puppies. Everybody gets a puppy, even Jon Snow, who's not a Stark because he's a bastard, and everyone just wants to rub that in his face, don't they? But
bastards get no wolves.
He gets a special one. There was a white one just for him. Looks snowy white. So then we fly across the continent, and we meet Daenerys Targaryen.
In her sheath dress. I mean, she's got like barely anything covering her nuts. Her tatas.
Her tatas, yes. We meet her boobs. Her icky brother, Viserys Targaryen, likes to squeeze them.
Yes.
He really wants to make sure her body is just right because he's going to sell her off. A whole bunch of kingly people show up in the town of Winterfell, which is where Ned Stark and all of his family live. So we meet Robert Baratheon. He's a big fat drunk guy.
Yep.
And we meet his wife.
She's a tall, thin bitch.
Cersei. Her brother, Jaime Lannister. He's kind of snooty-wooty. Tyrion. Oh, Tyrion. Boy, if anyone has changed over the seasons, he is probably
Oh my
number
gosh,
one.
seeing him
my
again?
God. So young, so blonde.
Yes, he
No
looks like
facial hair.
a little boy compared to where he is now.
And we also meet the Hound, because I just gotta say, that motherfucker has one goofy fucking helmet that we only see, I think, in season 1.
That's right.
Yeah, he's got a
That's
dog for a
right.
helmet. Oh, boy.
He's riding around defeating people with his stupid dog helmet.
Right. We meet Joffrey.
Yes.
He doesn't seem so bad at first.
Yeah, he just seems like a snotty kid, kind of.
And then one night, after fucking, I think, Ned and Kat get a raven, and the raven says, "Beware the Lannisters."
That's right. They get the notice from her sister. What's her sister's name? Lysa, right.
So Lysa writes them a note saying, "Oh, Jon Arryn is dead." We heard a lot about Jon Arryn. That's why the Baratheons came to Winterfell in the first place.
The
because
Hand
Jon
of the
Arryn
King died, right.
He's the Hand of the King. He's the guy that does all the work.
And he's done that for like the last 17 years or something.
Yeah, well, he was like a father than Ned and Fat Robert. But he's dead now.
Is his name now Fat Robert?
Yes.
Like Fat Albert, but
Yes.
he's fat. Hey, it's Fat Robert.
So we get a warning of the Lannisters. Meanwhile, across the ocean, this dude, Illyrio Mopatis, he is a wealthy merchant, and he helps Viserys sell Daenerys to this big guy, Khal Drogo. What do you think of him?
He's a raper.
He's a scary raper. And then back to the other side of the world again. There's dinner and carousing and everything. And then Bran goes climbing, which he promised his mom he wouldn't do anymore. And then what happens?
And he gets pushed out of the window when he sees Cersei and Jaime.
Fucking.
What is that?
All right, so moving on to episode 2, Ned has accepted the position of Hand of the King, and he's going to take some, but not all of his family with him, which is kind of weird, but they say a Stark always has to stay in Winterfell. Jon Snow, he's going to go be part of the Night's Watch on the Wall because no one loves him. And then he gives Arya a going away present.
Right, he gives Arya a needle.
Needle, a sword called, she names it Needle, because all the great swords have names, and he teaches her to...
Stick him with the pointy end.
Yep.
I feel like I'm on a game show.
That's the way to go. Well, you want... I mean, Kat Stark is a total fucking bitch to Jon. He goes to try to visit Bran in his bed. He's unconscious, fucking in a coma.
She just wants him gone.
Such a fucking cunt.
Why don't you just leave? Go to the wall.
But Ned's nicer to Jon. He says they're blood. They're saying goodbye. Ned's on his way to King's Landing. Jon's on his way north to the wall. And Jon asks about his mom, and he says, we'll talk about it later. Well, Mommy comes up while they're on the road, and Ned calls her Wyla.
Right.
She was a wench while they were off away at war. Meanwhile, Daenerys gets married. Describe the wedding, dear.
Well, there was a lot of dancing and a lot of drinking and a lot of killing and
fucking,
and then they go and fuck some more.
Yeah. And
that
then
was the wedding.
It was the wedding night.
Oh, she got her eggs.
Daenerys got a bunch of eggs, which was awesome. And then the wedding night, and she gets fucked. And it was really gross. There was
Gross
just
to
these
who?
slapping noises. She was crying.
Yeah, it was sad.
It was terrible. And it was not like in the book.
I'm
but
sure it was fine to him.
I'm sure he was having a great time. She stared at her eggs while she was face down, and she found peace in those. I thought that was kind of cool. We are then on our way up to the wall. Jon meets a bunch of people that are like fucking rapists and fucking assholes and stuff.
I think
some
she
of
found
them,
strength in her eggs, not peace.
all right. Okay, I can see that. And we do see some characters that we're going to see later. They're going to be very important in season 2. It's kind of cool that they're there now. And those are some other bastards that are joining the Night's Watch. Meanwhile, in Winterfell,
Kat examines the area where Bran fell from, and she finds a long blonde hair.
she sure as hell
The
does.
only people in the world with blonde hair are the Lannisters.
Well, but before she does that, also, Bran gets himself, or maybe after, I don't know, but Bran gets himself into a world of trouble, even though he's unconscious. There's like a fire, and it's a big distraction, and Kat's like hanging out watching this thing burn. And this guy comes in, and he goes, "You're not supposed to be here." And he pulls out a big dagger, and he tries to kill Catelyn.
Right.
And she
grabs it, cuts her hand up.
Yeah.
They have a fight.
He's
Then
going to win.
the wolf comes.
Right? Summer bites the shit out of that guy's neck. It was awesome. Then, meanwhile, on the road, once again with Ned and Fat King Robert, there's a fight between Arya and Joffrey.
Oh, right.
Right. Joffrey turns out to be a fucking bitch. Oh, what an asshole. He's all bully until he gets, whacked once, and he's like...
Begging, right. He's begging her not to.
And Nymeria bites his arm. And then he goes all the way home to Mommy and Daddy, and Mommy makes Ned kill Lady. Long story short, because Joffrey is a lying little bitch. And when Lady dies, Bran wakes up.
Interesting.
Okay, episode 3. We had Catelyn, who was riding south, and she was going to go find Ned. Meanwhile, Ned arrives in King's Landing. Ned's being kind of a dick when he gets with Jaime, because Jaime was kind of being cool. Like, not super cool, but he was saying that it was really not cool when the Mad King killed Ned's brother and father, and we find out that Jaime's the Kingslayer, and yada, yada, yada. But then we meet Renly and Baelish, and Varys and Pycelle. They form the Small Council. What do you think of these guys, babe? Real quick.
They're all weasels.
They're all weasels. Renly's kind of nice. And we find out that the kingdom is 6 million gold crowns in debt, most of it to the Lannister family. Joffrey's talking some shit about the North and how he wants to kick all their fucking asses. And Cersei says that the North can't be held by an outsider, which might be kind of important someday. Meanwhile, back in Winterfell,
it's too big and wild.
Old Nan is talking to Bran. He wants to hear stories of the old times, and I just thought it was noteworthy that she started telling stuff of like the White Walkers and things, but also Sir Duncan the Tall, which is another book that George R. R. Martin wrote at one point.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. Kat makes it all the way to King's Landing. She couldn't send a raven because it was too precious. This whole thing about the golden hair and the knife and the assassination attempt and all that shit. And funny enough, people knew she was coming. Varys knew she was coming. Baelish knew she was coming. And she winds up getting escorted into a whorehouse of all places. She didn't seem very impressed with
By
that.
Baelish.
Yeah, Baelish seems to have a thing for her, huh?
A little bit.
A little bit. Jon makes it to the wall, and he finds it is maybe not as majestic as he had hoped.
Why didn't you tell me?
Is that what he says?
Yes. Basically, nobody told me what it was going to be like.
Right. And it's
Everybody just made it sound all glorified.
Yeah. Oh, there's not a lot of glory there. No. So Ned and Catelyn have a chat about the assassination and the knife and all that shit. And, of course, we also find out that that knife belonged to Baelish, but he says he lost it at one point to Tyrion Lannister.
Correct.
Right. And we meet Barristan Selmy and Lancel. Barristan is the head of the Kingsguard. Lancel is this dipshit squire who's also a Lannister and does all of the bidding.
He's all aflutter.
Yes. He's a long-haired, pale little man.
Yes.
And he does all of Robert's bidding.
He's
and Robert,
very thin.
Yes. And Robert picks on him. Oh, my God. We also meet this dude named Yoren, who is part of we're back up at the wall again. And Yoren's chatting with Tyrion. And I just want to say that I like Yoren. He's a cool guy. And he's like a recruiter, and he's going to wind up going south. And he's saying goodbye to Tyrion and all the guys. But I think then Tyrion's like, hey, wait, I want to come with you, but I just want to piss off the top of the wall first. Episode 4, go.
Meet the three-eyed raven and Hodor.
What do you think of Hodor?
Hodor.
Bran starts having dreams of this three-eyed raven, and we also see Hodor, who has been tasked with carrying this guy around, but we don't know anything about him yet.
And we meet Sam.
We also meet Sam up at the wall. What do you think of Sam, babe?
Sammy's so cute. Story of Sam and Gilly.
Well, not yet. We haven't met Gilly, and we won't for a while. But Sam is kind of a craven, they call him. He's a coward. He doesn't like to fight, and everyone starts picking on him, of course, right away. Ned just looks terrible down in King's Landing. He just looks like he's not healthy. Maybe a little bit of stress.
Yeah, the South doesn't agree with him.
Yeah.
He's getting an ulcer, I bet.
Ned is starting to investigate the death of Jon Arryn, and when he goes to talk to Pycelle about poison options, Pycelle indicates that poison is a weapon for eunuchs, cowards, and women, and sort of hints around that, maybe it sounds like maybe Varys, someone close to Jon Arryn. Varys is a eunuch, maybe a coward, almost a woman. Mm-hmm. So that's interesting. We don't know what that's all about, but maybe there's something to it. Meanwhile, Bran is trying to figure out what he's going to do with his life.
You're right. He could be like Bran the Builder.
Brandon the Builder,
Bran
yes.
the Builder.
That's the first mention of Brandon the Builder in the show. Maybe he someday, instead of being a knight or some kind of fighting man, he could raise castles.
Sounds pretty exciting to me.
Baelish, he tells Ned about the squire and armorer. So there was the squire dude who used to work for Jon Arryn, and then he got a knighthood like right before Jon Arryn died or something like that. And then there was also the armorer who Ned was supposed to go check out because that was someone that Jon Arryn went to go visit.
Right.
That could turn out to be interesting.
Right. So, but Baelish is just stirring the fucking pot.
All right. What are we on? Episode 5?
Episode 5.
All right. So there's going to be a tournament in Ned Stark's honor, which Ned doesn't want.
Right. He's whatever. Like, stupid people. We don't need to spend more money.
Robert gets to do whatever Robert wants to. Fat Robert. He gets to do what he wants to do. So there's going to be a tournament. We meet Lancel. No, sorry, Loras. No, we meet Lancel. Oh, sorry, Loras and Lancel. There's a scene with Lancel where he's trying to put armor on Robert, and Robert's too fat, and he gets all fucking enraged, and he's just fucking around with Lancel, and he scares the poor dude off.
And Ned says, you're too fat.
Right, Ned has no problem calling it like it is. We also meet Loras Tyrell, who parades out very pretty onto the battlefield.
The Night of Flowers.
He gives Sansa a flower. Ooh, la, la,
and
la,
she's all like, just totally, now I think she's in love with Loras all of a sudden.
Oh, yes.
This is a girl who is just dying for attention from a boy.
That poor squire that we met earlier, he's dead. He tries to joust with the mountain, and it does not go well. And then Loras also tries to joust with the mountain, and he wins because his horse was in heat, and the mountain's horse got all fucking randy.
Oh, so yeah.
You wanted to talk about what the mountain did to that horse.
He just sliced the head right off of that horse, and it was amazing. The graphics were just amazing.
Blood, and then he almost kills Loras Tyrell, but is saved by...
he gets saved by the Hound.
That's right. The Hound comes to his aid, and then they start having a fight. The two, the Mountain versus the Hound. Yeah, the Clayton
and then
brothers.
Robert calls it all off.
Right, they have to stop. Robert says, "Stop it!" And the Hound stops it, and the Mountain gets all angry and storms off. Meanwhile, Tyrion's on the road, and he has been captured by Catelyn Stark, which I guess we should have mentioned at the end of last episode, and I'm sorry that we didn't. And he's now captive, and Catelyn is taking him to the Eyrie, where he's going to have a trial for his crimes. But meanwhile, they get attacked by fucking hillfolk or something, or some kind of bandits, and there's a big fight, and that's where we see Bronn go into action for the first time, and he's definitely a badass. But Cat gets in trouble, and Tyrion winds up saving her. He hits a dude, knocks him over, and then smashes his head over and over and over again with a shield.
Right, so she gains a little trust.
Yeah. Woo, woo, woo.
Damn fucking stupid. She's so stupid.
Yeah.
She just really...
She makes some bad decisions, babe. Like all the Starks do. Bran, meanwhile, over in Winterfell, is learning how to be a smart boy. He's studying hard because he can no longer run around. And then also while we're in Winterfell, we meet Raz via Theon. And Raz is getting fucked real hard. Almost like what Daenerys got on her wedding
God,
night.
it looks awful. Guys, again, I have to tell you this. Every time I see a sex scene and I see the guy pounding around a girl, that does not feel good.
Right, but Theon thinks he's really wowed her.
It feels okay. You
gotta be in the mood, right?
Right.
Yeah, you gotta be in the mood.
It's not the way you should do it all the time.
Treat her nice first. But she has some nice words to say about Tyrion and not so nice to say about Theon.
Yes, that was hilarious.
Jealous.
He knows what to do with his tongue.
Oh, and his fingers.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I getting excited about that? Okay, so back in King's Landing, Varys and Ned are talking, and he warns Ned not to ask questions about some of this shit. We should just let some of it lie. But then, where Arya has been getting these dancing lessons from this dude named Syrio Forel, right? And she is chasing cats around, and then she winds up in the dungeons.
Right, and she overhears two people talking.
We see Varys, like we know it's Varys, but Arya doesn't figure out who it is because she's hiding. But he's talking with Illyrio, who we saw sell Dany to Khal Drogo, and they're having a talk about him and how, hey, you know what? If one hand died, maybe another one has to die, and the lion and the stag are going to eat each other, and yada yada yada. So there's something going on, but that's a very pro Daenerys faction. And then Varys and Baelish talk about fetishes, and Varys is missing balls. That's the first time we hear about that, I believe, except maybe the reference that Pycelle made earlier. But this is actually like Baelish wants to know about his balls. And Baelish seems to know that Varys was talking to Illyrio. So even though Varys is the spy master, Baelish has his own little network set up, doesn't he?
Right.
All right. Yoren is now in King's Landing. He's come to get prisoners out of the dungeons to recruit for the Night's Watch, but he wants to have a little talk with Ned. And he tells her about Tyrion being taken captive by Catelyn Stark.
Yoren tells Ned.
Yoren tells Ned, because he was there when Tyrion got captured.
Right.
All right. Meanwhile, Robert decides he wants to assassinate Daenerys. And we find out that Jorah Mormont, who works for Khal Drogo, is actually a spy. Oh, that Jorah. You don't like him.
I don't.
Ned does not want to assassinate Daenerys. So
he quits. He's like, I'm not doing this. I don't want anything to do with this.
You're on your own. Robert quits his job. Robert gets all fucking enraged. You quit, you motherfucker. You get out of here. I'll kill you.
Then we meet Lysa and Robin and Lysa's boob.
We meet Lysa's boob, which I think is a prosthetic boob, thank God. But Robin is just sucking the milk right out of it and just dripping off of his fucking chin.
How much does it matter that it's a prosthetic boob and he's sucking off of her?
Well, otherwise, yes, that matters a lot for the purposes of television. Like, that's not a boy sucking on a real tit.
But it's just like sucking on a real tit.
But it's not a real tit, and that makes it different.
Just like sucking on a real tit.
It's child acting, babe. We cannot have him sucking on a real tit.
I know. No, I'm not saying I want him to. I'm just saying that was a little bit crossing the line, I think.
It is, but it's better this way.
Right.
And Tyrion gets thrown into prison. We meet Mord, the big dumb guy who's the jailkeeper. He's funny. And it's a scary prison where you could just roll around and die. We find out Renly's gay. Sexy. He's getting shaved.
Right. Loras is shaving
hairless,
him.
Right?
He and Loras.
Cersei. And then there's like slurping noises.
Yes.
Cersei and Robert have a long talk about their loveless marriage. I thought it was kind of a nice moment.
I wonder what they recorded for the slurping noises.
It was just me. They recorded me. Never mind about the nice moment between Cersei and Robert. We meet baby Bara, the little baby, the bastard baby in the whorehouse. So Ned's doing a CSI thing. He meets baby Bara. He takes some of his men with him. When they come out, we find out that Jaime is kind of pissed off that Tyrion's been taken captive. And they kill a lot of Stark men.
All of them.
Jory takes a main gauche in the eyeball when he tries to fight Jaime. And then Ned and Jaime are having a good fight. But then some stupid Lannister soldier
stabs him around the back of his leg. That must have hurt so bad.
Yeah, Jaime punched that guy out. I wish Jaime would have just killed that guy instead of just punching him out.
Yeah.
But Jaime just walks away then because he doesn't want to win the fight unfairly, which is interesting about Jaime. But all right, there you go.
He is definitely honorable.
All right, so now Ned's in a fucking hospital bed, and he is forced to re-enlist his hand. Robert won't take no for an answer. Daenerys starts playing around with her eggs, tries putting one in the fire.
Warming them up.
Somehow
she puts her hands on them. She doesn't get burned.
But her friend does. Her servant does. Bran is riding one day with these special apparatuses that Tyrion helped him make, and he gets captured by a bunch of wildlings, and that's when we meet Osha. She's going to be important eventually. But they get taken captive. Tyrion is talking to Mord and trying to find a way out of his mess. Back in the Eyrie. Syrio Forel, he's trying to train Arya, but she's in a bad mood because her dad's hurt, and he helps her learn how to like keep her mind clear and focus. But he does say something really important. Only one god, and his name is Death. That's I think, is super fucking important.
Dany eats a horse's heart.
And Viserys is totally jealous.
Of the horse's heart?
Of her. She's being loved. And he tries to steal the egg so he can go hire himself an army and just get this shit over with. But he is not allowed to do that. Tyrion says he wants to confess his crimes, and it winds up becoming a humorous moment, and then a big duel. Bronn is his champion. Bronn kicks ass. Then
they're free to go.
Right. They are free to go. They give Mord some money. There's a hunting trip with Robert. Lots and lots and lots and lots of wine.
Well, did you talk about is Daenerys is pregnant?
Daenerys is pregnant.
We didn't.
Right. That's why she was eating a horse heart.
Right.
You're right.
She's got the stallion inside her.
And Beric Dondarrion is sent out to find the mountain because he's raiding parties and pretending like it's the fucking Riverlands people doing bad things, but they figure it out. So let's see. Roz leaves the north and goes south to King's Landing because there's going to be lots of money to be made there. Sansa's kind of a bitch, but Joffrey starts being really nice to her. And then Viserys crashes a party in Daenerys' honor after the horse heart thing, demands his golden crown, and he gets it. And it's awful, and it's painful, and he died.
He gets the golden liquid.
All right, so we meet Tywin Lannister. He's skinning a fucking stag, and he's telling Jaime what to do.
This is episode 7.
This is episode 7. Jaime apparently can take like time off from the King's Guard anytime he wants to, because even though he's supposed to be guarding the king, he can now go lead an army.
That's because Tywin's his dad.
Cersei has had a bad day. She's got a big bruise on her face.
Robert got all pissed off at her and belted her.
Before his hunting trip or something.
Why I oughta.
Right. She doesn't deny hurting Bran. She doesn't deny the incest. And she wonders why Ned didn't take the throne back in the day. And she says that was a bad move because...
in the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die.
That's right. We meet Baelish, well, not meet, but we see Baelish auditioning Roz and some other girl, and they're fucking just licking each other and sucking on each other, and he's giving them instructions. But it's a chance for us to hear the whole story about how much he's in love with Catelyn Stark. That's
oh my God, really he goes on and on while they're just, Roz is just banging the girl.
And you also hear that he wants everything there is in the universe. Let's see, Theon's kind of rude to Osha, but that's not super important. But she does say that there were things that were sleeping north of the wall that are no longer sleeping. Benjen's horse returns to the wall, but it's by himself, not with Benjen. There's Night's Watch graduation day. Jon becomes a steward, and he's all fucking snooty about it. But what do we find out about that?
Well, he thinks he's being groomed for the Lord Commander.
Right. Well, he doesn't think that until someone else points it out to him.
Sam.
Then he stops being such a little shit about it. Robert comes back from his hunt, and he's badly, badly hurt. He's dying. Joffrey actually seems legitimately sad about it.
He seems in shock.
And Ned has this piece of paper from Robert that says, hey, you're going to be the
I'm hand of the king until the rightful heir comes forward.
He's going to be like the steward until, the rightful heir. Ned says Joffrey. Robert writes down rightful heir. He thinks it's going to be a security policy.
You just did that backwards.
Baelish says, well, okay, so Renly wants to strike. Ned says he's backing Stannis as king. And then Baelish says that they should make peace with the Lannisters. He's getting all sorts of advice all over the place. There we go. Meanwhile, up in the north of the wall, there's oaths given at the heart tree, but then Ghost finds an arm. It's going to be a zombie arm, but not quite yet. Meanwhile, across the ocean, Jorah gets a letter in the mail, and it turns out he's pardoned. He doesn't have to do anything anymore. No more spying. And then he realizes that means something suspicious is up.
Uh-oh.
He saves Dany's life. We see a little poisoner's wiener. But Drogo gets a horse, and Drogo gives Jorah a horse, and Drogo declares that his son will have that throne. Boom, boom, boom. And meanwhile, Ned tries to go into the throne room and say, hey, I know Robert's dead and all, because Robert's dead now, but you, Joffrey, you can't be king because Robert's order said that I'm going to be in charge until the rightful heirs come of age. Cersei fucking tears that shit up. And then,
right. Why does nobody do anything?
Because betrayal. That's why no one does anything. Well, the City Watch backstab the Stark men. They all get stabbed again, so there's like none of them left. Ned gets a knife to the throat from Baelish, and he says, you shouldn't have trusted me, motherfucker.
Yep.
All right, episode 8. Starks are being murdered all over. They're being purged. Sansa runs and hides. And Septa dies. Syrio, meanwhile, has a cool fight. And he dies. But maybe he doesn't die. He's off screen. So we don't really know what happens to him. But the Hound gets Sansa. Arya kills a fat boy. And then that's it for that. Varys comes into the prison cell, gives Ned some water, tells him what's going on. He says he serves the realm. And that's why he's not going to be breaking anyone out of jail or saving the little girls or anything like that.
Yeah.
He serves the realm. Right.
He's not saving anybody.
Right. Sam notes that the dead guys up at the wall are not rotting, and then it turns out that they're going to be zombies, but not quite yet. Jon learns about what's happening with Robert being dead and Ned being in prison. Meanwhile, back down south, Sansa's being told to write a letter to just be like, my dad's a traitor, come pledge your allegiance. And Robb Stark instead calls the banners, and he's going to get everyone organized. And then Catelyn Stark has an out with her sister, and Tyrion and Bronn hit the road, and they meet some hill tribes, and they charm him, even though Tyrion takes a little bit of a wound, but they hire these guys to see him through to the
Tywin's
camp. Yeah, that's it.
Camp Tywin.
Jon gets himself in trouble because Alistair taunts him.
Right.
And then Jon winds up getting grounded. He's sent to his room. But then Ghost smells a zombie. And they save the day with fire. Fire burns Jon's hand. And fire can't kill a dragon. So maybe that hurts the Jon's a Targaryen thing. But we already know he's a Targaryen. Spoilers. Sorry. The Dothraki take down a whole city full of lamb men, and Dany meets them, and she tries to save as many women as she can. And then that's where we meet Mirri Maz Duur. Drogo gets into a duel over Dany's honor, and Dany wants to save all the women, and he winds up killing this dude Mogo.
Rips his tongue out through his throat.
Right, rips his tongue. Oh, it was so disgusting. Mirri Maz Duur offers to help with Drogo's wound. That's going to work out great. Robb Stark winds up getting his people together. Great John Umber tries to fight with him, and he loses his fingers in the process. Robb says goodbye to Bran, and he leaves with his army. Let's see. We see Hodor's cock.
Yeah, we did. Really long.
Yep. Sam says the zombie was related to White Walkers from shit he's been reading in the library. Let's see. Catelyn Stark finds Robb. They have a nice reunion, and they agree that they have to fight.
Meanwhile, back in King's Landing.
Joffrey and Cersei fire poor Sir Barristan Selmy.
Oh my gosh, that was just so fucked up.
He's insulted. Says he will die at night. He could kick all their fucking asses.
And then stupid Baelish, a naked night.
But he leaves. So that's that. He doesn't actually try to fight everybody. Sansa begs for mercy for his dad, but in order for that mercy to come, he must agree to
pledge allegiance to the
Joffrey.
Right.
The Joffrey States of America. America. All right, episode 9. Varys visits Ned again, and we find out that they cut off his balls with a hot knife at one point, but he says he wants peace. Peace is what he wants, and he says that Robb's on the move. Ned doesn't care about his own life. He's not going to swear allegiance to Joffrey, but then he starts to worry about his daughters. Over at the Twins, Kat goes to visit that fucking dude, Walder Frey.
Ugh.
And what do they decide?
They decide that in order for them to cross, they've got to marry one of his daughters and one of his sons to a Stark.
Yeah, Arya's going to get a husband out of this. What a good deal. Ugh. And Robb has to agree to marry one of his daughters. One of them might be okay looking. Jon's injured, but for saving the Lord Commander's life, he gets Longclaw. Jon thinks he should be with Robb Stark. He is upset about everything that's going on.
Right, he wants to go off to the war.
Right. And Aemon says, love is the death of duty. And we find out that Aemon is a Targaryen that could have been king, but he didn't.
Right, he went to the wall instead.
Right. How's Drogo doing?
Oh, he looks fucked up.
Yeah, he's not doing well after the help from Mirri, but she says she'll help again.
Yeah, let's trust her.
Yeah. Meanwhile, at the Lannister camp, we meet Shae. Ugh, I do not like her.
I know you don't like her.
Yeah, but she fucks Tyrion, and they have a nice time, I guess. Drogo's dying. Back across the water again. They just hop back and forth, back and forth. Drogo's dying. Jorah says, we got to get that fuck out of here because they're going to kill everybody, and you, your baby, everything.
Right. Because they don't need to have any heirs.
Right. But there's going to be some blood magic. Only death pays for life. And that leads Jorah to kill this dude Kotho because Kotho is not going to let this shit happen. Kotho was right. Dany passes out through all the blood magic and the magicking of the blood. And that's the last we see of her. Shae and Bronn and Tyrion play some games. It's kind of interesting and illuminating, but we don't really have time to talk about that. Mm-hmm. Oh, there's a big battle. Tyrion gets hit in the face, so we don't see the battle. Arya finds out it sucks to be poor, and then the bell's ringing, and she runs to the Sept of Baelor because they're bringing Ned Stark out, and it turns out that's her dad. Haha, who knew? Ned confesses to treason, but then it's not going to work out well for him.
Joffrey's like, these women don't know what they're doing. I'm going to chop his head off anyway.
Women suck, and they want mercy, and mercy is for pussies. Basically, is his message. So he's going to lose his head, and Yoren pulls Arya down off the place where she was watching all this happen, and he tries to protect her. And Ned loses his head.
Yeah. I cried again.
I'm sorry, babe.
Yeah. Me too.
All right, so episode 10, Ned is dead.
Ned is dead.
Yoren is teaching Arya how to be a boy, cuts her fucking hair, and says, "You're coming with me, boy." And her new name is Aery. Or Harry. I'm not sure.
Aery.
Yeah. Bran's having dreams of Three-Eyed Raven again, crypts. She goes into the crypt with Osha. Shaggy Dog almost attacks, but it's not like in the book where Shaggy Dog actually attacks and rips Lewin's arm open. But Rickon had the same dream, and then Lewin gets a raven, and they find out that Ned's dead. Kat also gets a raven. She finds out Ned's dead. She's sad. Rob's sad. He's hacking up a tree. Ruins his sword. What a dork. Joffrey is turning out to be kind of a cruel king. He rips a bard's tongue out, and then he forces Sansa to look at Ned's head. And Sansa has a chance to fucking kill Joffrey after getting slapped around by Meryn Trant, but she doesn't. The Hound stops her. Meanwhile, they declare Robb King of the North. King of the North. We're not going to follow Joffrey. He's King of the North. King of the North.
King of the North.
Yeah. Cat hits Jaime Lannister in the face with a fucking rock, which is awesome. And Lancel is fucking Cersei while all this is going on.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, skinny
He's got a
little boy.
tiny little butt.
Tywin is pissed off that Jaime gets captured, but they move the army to Harrenhal, which we'll see in season 2. And he sends Tyrion to go be the hand of the king, but he's not allowed to bring any whores with him. Daenerys wakes up. She wants her son, but he's dead. He had lizard skin and worms. It's the price of blood magic.
Very good.
How's Drogo doing?
Dead. Oh, catatonic.
Yeah, he's not dead yet. But Miri did a good service. She stopped the stallion who will mount the world.
That's right.
That's right. She thinks she's did the right thing, and she's probably right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, see, up in the north, Jon runs away, and eventually Gren and Pip and Sam chase him down. Sam takes a fucking tree to the face in the process, but they convince Jon to go back. And Shay is offended, but she winds up talking her way into going to King's Landing with Tyrion. Not a good idea.
Tyrion's such a sucker.
Right. Dany says goodbye to Drogo. She might fuck him one last time.
He could have had Roz in...
Oh, yeah, Roz. I like Roz a lot better than Shay. What were we saying? Dany says goodbye to Drogo, and then she smothers him.
Mm-hmm. And then she goes into the burning pyre.
Right. Well, that'll be our last scene. Pycelle, we find out he's hiding something. He has this long scene, doesn't matter. None of it. He did fuck Roz, fuck him. But he's hiding something. We still.
Oh yeah, he's not an old decrepit man like we.
Right. He's old, but he's not decrepit. Baelish and Varys have some more long conversations. They say they admire each other. Yada yada yada. And Arya starts on the road north. She gets bullied by Hot Pie, but she kicks his butt. And Gendry, who we didn't really talk about before, he's one of the bastards. He's on the run too. He helps defend her. He doesn't really know what's going on though. And we find out that the Night's Watch, they're going to ride north. Jon gets to go with them. And there might be more zombies about. They're going to go see what's going on. Jorah Mormont, Lord Commander Mormont, cannot stand by and just watch that. And Daenerys and the funeral pyre. Go, babe.
Daenerys walks into the funeral pyre, just like I said.
Well, she ties Mirri Maz Duur to the funeral pyre first.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I
won't scream.
She puts her eggs in the funeral pyre. Oh, yeah, she screamed. Her eggs are in the funeral pyre. Jorah's like, but you could totally buy a whole army with those.
And you could go live somewhere and be wealthy all your life.
Right. And
I would have totally done that.
Yeah, you would have. But instead, we get to see boobies.
I would have showed you my boobies.
All right. If I was Jorah Mormont, though?
Well, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Well,
I'll show anybody my boobies if I can go somewhere and live for the rest of my life being a wealthy woman.
Okay. You heard it here first, folks. Daenerys does walk into the pyre, and sometime in the next after sunrise, whatever, there's dragons. She's totally fine. Her hair is still there, unlike the book. And there's dragons that are not sucking on her boobies, but they are there. One of them's covering her vagina, which was a very nice touch.
Uh-huh.
Yep. That's the end of the season. We did it, babe.
Yep.
All of season 1, you guys. And I think we just barely hit that 30-minute mark, so you're welcome.
I hope it wasn't too fast.
It was probably too fast, but I don't know. I mean, I heard someone summed up the entire series in like 5 minutes. I mean,
well,
you could just talk about a couple major plot points and that's it, but there's so many things.
Yeah.
It's a very detailed show. We skipped over some details. We didn't even talk about Gendry and the Bullhorn. We just mentioned them later. Can't fit everything. It's only 30 minutes, people. So listen, feedback would be appreciated because we plan to do this for 6 more seasons. Oh, sorry, 5 more seasons in the coming weeks.
Okay, so yes.
So let us know what you think. Was that too fast or was it just right? I'm trying to make a bite size for you. Again, if you want the long form version of the recaps where we don't talk at a million miles an hour like this, look in your show notes. We got links to all that stuff from last year.
See
what?
Senor.
Oh, see as in Spanish?
Yes.
I see. That was for you, Arthur.
Just one person.
Si, senor.
It's for you, Arthur.
Estas recaps. Wait, no, that's not it. I don't know. I think I just said you are recaps. Right. Well, so no point in dragging this out because we said this would be a half hour, and of course it's longer than that. But the recap itself, half hour. There you go, everybody. Let us know what you think. thekidfreeweekend at gmail.com, and we'll be back soon with more of this insanity.
We need more insanity.
Final thoughts, babe?
No.
No? You brain fried?
Yes.
All right. Bye, everybody.